And welcome back to the Original Copy Podcast. If you haven't seen our previous episodes, go check them out now. What's going on, Sam?
Not much, just a cold week.
Yeah,
For those who
super
don't know,
cold.
Texas got a little bit cold. I love the cold. I'd love to live in it, but it just sucks when it's out of nowhere.
Yeah,
So
overstays its welcome a little bit.
yeah, but I mean it's been good. A lot of stuff's been happening in the world, and I mean basically following off on the past 3 episodes. I mean going into politics, like more people have got confirmed. I mean I think RFK got confirmed, Tulsi got confirmed, and now Cash Patel got confirmed today. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, all these conspiracies we've been hearing about for the past 20 years, I mean, could all culminate to the next 3 months. I know, I think she's a House representative. I think her name's Paulina. I could be mistaken, but she got tasked with making the project of releasing everything. So they want to take their time and get all the files and release them.
For the FBI?
No, I mean the FBI is gonna like play a part in like giving over the stuff that they want to give over. But like you know how they said like the JFK assassination, like all of that, like the House representatives got tasked with like gathering all the information, and then they're gonna release all of it to the public.
Gotcha.
So it's interesting to see like a lot of that is gonna come from CIA, FBI knowledge. So it's like now that Cash is in, like he's gonna be like, here's the Epstein client list. Like here's all like the domestic terrorism, the foreign terrorism stuff. Like all of that is just, I think, gonna be the final cherry on the.
To get it all at the same time is crazy.
Yeah.
I think it feels like a season finale almost. You know, like we've heard all this stuff for like going back to the '60s. There's been rumors of all sorts of second shooter and all this, and now it's like that's just the facts.
Yeah.
And for everybody, like normal people, to go over that information is, I don't know, it's crazy to see. I feel like you're almost forced to be more tuned in to the actual temperature of the government nowadays, because they used to get away with lying to us left and right. And now it's like we're resetting that balance to where you might be able to trust them. It's not all lies, right? But a big part of that is showing, hey, we did lie about this. Here's what's going on, and like giving us actual proper information.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. The other thing I was thinking about is like midterms are going to be in 2027, and a lot of this information could like put a lot of people on the chopping block. So it'll be really interesting too to see how this negatively affects people's political careers. And for us as citizens, I feel like it would be in a good way.
Yeah.
Because it's going to put on blast everybody, regardless of what side of the aisle they're on. And it's going to really open the American people's eyes to be like, you were lied to. And this person willingly knew and was lying, or this person was involved and was playing you just for their own benefit. So I think it'll be really good. That's on the lower end, but like the higher end, especially is like the JFK, something simple as that. Like every CIA director most likely has seen the file.
Yeah,
just out of pure curiosity. So it's like now once it gets released, you can go to every single previous director and be like, why didn't you release this? Or why did you not see this as a problem? Right? Same thing with the USAID stuff, right? You can go back to every single person who okayed one of these. And it's like it puts everybody on public trial of like, you wasted our money. You knew this was happening. This is evil and wrong that you can just be a globalist and want to go and like do all this with our money. So it's going to be interesting.
The globalists.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see all the drama that ensues. And at the end of the day, like it's all going to be engagement farming. Like
it is.
Every single piece of information for the next 3 years. Like once everything comes out, it's going to be like a 3-year meme war of like
100%.
all of this. So I think it's going to be pretty entertaining.
It will be. I mean, it's reality television is reality nowadays. You know?
And it's also, a lot of this is downstream. Like we didn't grow up at the height of conspiracies. We kind of see like in hindsight what happened and we get to make our own decisions. So it's going to be interesting for those who lived through it, right? Like those from like the 80s to like the early 2000s, those who were like like 30 or 40 years
Right.
old. It'll be interesting for them because they were full grown adults when all this was happening.
Lied to their entire lives,
Yeah.
and then now for that all to come undone in like a single stroke, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy to see those people because they're gonna have to. I mean, they're quickly gonna come to terms with everything, and you can only move forward, right?
Yeah.
So it's like those people sort of for a while, I think they got comforted by the lies, or you know, they didn't want to believe that they'd been lied to,
Yeah.
so they just committed to all the other lies, and then it gets to a point where you've gone too far, you lost all those people, you know, they're not following that, and now for the first time in their entire lives,
Yeah.
you have those people questioning things. At the same time, you have other people putting, you know, alternative versions of things or, you know, facts even out there. So I don't know. It's a transition point for our entire mentality as a country, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited because it's just a stepping stone in the right direction of accountability to the public.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts on, I know, like Elon's wanting to give people's money back to the United States. Like he's talking about handing out, or not, let me rephrase this. Elon is just the advisor to the idea, but
Right.
like Trump's wanting to possibly hand money back out to American citizens because the money was mismanaged. What are your thoughts on that? Like,
I think there's no perfect solution that's going to appease everybody. I think that man is offering ideas that at least incentivize the people before the government to just re-strategize how they want to use those funds and put them somewhere else that we can't tamper with yet.
yeah,
You know, just refunding. And the IRS is too big of a giant to go after right now. I think, you know, Trump just took office and, you know, he just appointed Elon. Now he's just appointing all these people. They
Yeah.
haven't really got to do anything yet. It's almost just the idea of things getting done, even though a lot has happened already.
Yeah.
We're just not at that point where we have enough momentum to, you know, entirely dismantle something that's the staple of our economy. Like, you know,
It's a lot.
like it or not, that's how everything operates. The fact that you can even have a banking system in this in this country that's so fast with its operation,
Yeah.
it's all because the IRS. It's built upon that. So
Yeah.
you can't dismantle that without disrupting, you know, daily life.
Yeah.
So
And
I think
it's-
that's a good idea for him to just give it back to the people.
Yeah. It's also interesting because this is all based on the IRS. I don't know if you saw the Social Security numbers that were released,
Mhm.
and there's people
Some
on there
Civil
like
War vets.
139 years old. And for me, it should make the American people realize that Social Security money is being used by the government. It's not sitting there like it's supposed to and just waiting to give to people's retirement. It's literally just being used corruptly. And you can see that even more so now with the amount of fake Social Security numbers that are
Well,
in there.
what's crazy is that the entire system of Social Security, like your Social Security, they're not deduplicatable, which means that they're duplicatable,
Yeah.
which means that you can duplicate a Social Security number. In fact, you can do it as many times as you want.
Yeah.
And Elon was talking about this the other day, but it really hit home to me because I just had to order a new Social Security card.
Yeah.
And then in the process of it showing up, like I found my old one, right?
Yeah. That's
So
what
I was
always
looking
happens.
at both of them right next to each other, and I was like, "What? This is crazy." So they both have the same Social Security number,
Yep.
but then you flip them over to the back, and I'm not sure is it the EIN number? That might be a business number, but the number that's on the back of the card, it's essentially the bond number for it. Is two different numbers, but then on the same Social Security number. So it's a duplicated version of the exact same Social Security, and they're bonds at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So what that means to me is like you're somewhere there's a value equated to the bond of my Social Security that has been duplicated, and I don't have access to that. So somebody basically, you know, they frauded my Social Security, or they're getting the value out of it. You know, I don't know if they can, you know, like how a bank takes your money because everybody has money in the bank, and then they can
Yeah.
use that to, you know, use as lending or
Yeah.
or as a show of power to get more. It's like I feel like the government is taking our bond amount, applying that to a dollar value, and then either upon our request or maybe some other way, when these things get duplicated, that dollar amount gets duplicated for them too, but it's not a real dollar.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Let me just say this. Social Security is a scam.
Yeah. All right.
And
Let's start there.
I don't remember who I was listening to. Let's just say it was that super wealthy guys. No, was it Warren?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. He was saying, I think it was him, it could be somebody else, but he was saying that if you invested everyone's money in the S&P 500,
That guy's such a liar.
like no, in the sense of like, in the sense of like, if all that money was just invested, like you didn't give to the government. If you invested it yourself, everything that you give to Social Security, everyone would be just so rich.
Yeah.
So it's the fact that it's another tax for them to get more money with the promise of, oh, but you'll have a Social Security, you'll be secure at the end of your life. And it's like such a lie because as we can see, it's being manipulated.
They're like, oh, it dried up.
Yeah.
How did mine dry up? I paid for mine.
Yeah. And now if you think about it, it's just because it's pegged to the dollar, right? Social Security in the United States, you can't transfer that money to euros or gold or whatever. It's pegged to the dollar. So if you think about it, if the dollar were to crash, there goes everyone's Social Security.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, it's always been a scam. They knew, okay, we want to get more money from taxes, but we don't want to call it taxes because then people will be like, what the heck, we're getting taxed so much. So if we just call it Social Security, then people will be like, oh, I'm getting retirement. But at the end of the day, since I've been in the work field, my short life, I have realized this is just another tax. Obviously, it's Social Security tax, what we call it, but like, it's crazy to me that the idea is it's almost like a multi-level marketing scheme or a pyramid scheme that's like you keep paying in and then the people behind you keep paying in to keep everybody afloat. But it's like that's such horse to me. It's like let people do with their money what they want.
Yeah, it's sort of like even insurance being a scam. Like you're forced to have insurance, and just the way that it doesn't equate. Like how they can force you to have insurance, and then these insurance companies can change their policies altogether at the same time when they just decide things have changed, and then they just decide, oh, new data has come in that they probably paid for somewhere that suggests that if you don't do X, Y, and Z, you're a bad driver. So then on paper, they can, they build a system, use it against you. And it's just fraud all day.
I just don't understand, like you were saying, that like having car insurance, because at the end of the day, like, let's say that you take car insurance off the table. If somebody wrecks or something happens, right? Like the state ultimately has the authority to ban your driver's license. So it's like, the insurance company doesn't have the ability to ban your driver's license. They just up your rate. Mm-hmm. So it's like if we took away car insurance, it's your ability to drive or not. Like so somebody doesn't have to. It's not a right. It's a privilege that we all get to drive. But it's like if you don't want to pay the car insurance, or not the state, it's like the risk should be you lose your ability to drive through the state. It shouldn't be, because now you're being owned by the insurance company and by the state, because the state can revoke your driver's license, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're also like, but then you also, if you don't get revoked in your driver's license, then your insurance just goes up. So it's like, if we don't have the car insurance, like it's a great option, right? Like to have car insurance in case you make a mistake. But the idea is like, that's what civil court is for.
It's always so tough when you want to put restrictions on like the idiotic things that are going on.
Yeah.
Because restrictions are never really the answer. It's like openness and freedom is like the true answer. But it's really tough when you come to something like driving. Like, because it's almost like you're saying, it's not a right to be able to drive. Yeah. I don't know. That's maybe debatable. Just like somebody could say, I mean, legally, no, it's not a right, but like a God-given right, like a right that like every person is entitled to, which is where, I mean, even though we have the Second Amendment, I feel like, arming yourself and protecting, like that's a right that any person has anywhere, and you can't really put restrictions on that no matter what.
Well, okay, I'm saying this is what I meant.
For driving.
This is what I meant. So it's like,
or traveling.
You need oxygen to breathe, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you need it to be alive. You need oxygen. So for me, it's like you don't need car insurance in order to drive a car.
No.
So it's like you don't actually need to drive, is what I'm saying. So it's like
but I'm just saying like if you take away the insurance and then you have it like, okay, if you fail to do, if you get into whatever, we'll just take away your right to drive. Is basically what you're saying, though. We'll revoke your license because there's no insurance anymore. That's the only penalty
I'm saying like if you're the one, like you see these guys like speeding on the highway,
all the time.
and it's like if they are the ones to cause the wreck, they lose their privilege. Like they don't get to drive because you ruined someone else's life, you know, or you did something. I'm not saying accident. Like accidents happen. Like somebody's tire pops and they plow into a bunch of people. Like you can't control that. I'm saying somebody who is screwing with the environment around them. Because if I get hit, right, then my insurance goes up, I'm pretty sure. Like if I take a claim and file a claim.
It all depends, but yeah.
Anyway, but it's just interesting, like you were saying at the beginning, like that you have to have insurance. There's like so many things that we have to have, so many regulations, and it's like it's so much money at the end of the day just to have all this stuff. I'm
a fan of like straight up barter and just like old school methods of everything, equal exchange, like agreements on stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I wish we could have that with our government.
What are your thoughts on like being able to borrow? This is a
lot of money.
Yeah, like what are your thoughts on just you being able to borrow as much as you want, or let's say this, not borrow money, but like borrowing assets in the sense of like house, car, everything. So like, let's say you go to the government and you say, this is everything I want to make my life the way I want it. So let's say it's $800K. I want to get a house. I want to get these 2 cars. I want to get beds, sofas, hot tub, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
You get that whole entire total and you go to the government or the bank or whatever and you say, okay, here you go. And they have to give you this money, but you're on the hook for like the rest of your life to pay it off. Kind of like what China does, but like in the sense of like you get everything up front that you want and you're not like told no based on income, but it's like that's attached to you forever.
I mean, is there like a max that you can go to, or is it like...
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be maxed based off like they do the math, but if you were like, okay, let's just say interest isn't on the table, right? Let's just say interest isn't a thing because it's a lot of money to calculate.
Fuck that.
Yeah, but like let's say you make $60K a year and they say, okay, we think it's going to take him 40 years to give us our money back, right? So it's
they place a bet on you.
They basically say, okay, we'll give you X amount of money to when we know this can get paid off.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's like part of me would go, yeah, absolutely, because I like the just the absolute nature of like having everything already, and it's just real easy. Just stick to the script.
Yeah.
But I also don't like the idea of where that sort of maybe traps you into.
But that's the idea, though. You want to be trapped. Like, but
you do.
If you make that
decision,
if you make that decision, you'd want to be trapped.
Yeah.
Because like I
don't.
But like for me, if I was like, this is all I want to do. I know this. I'm comfortable with this. I want to make sure I have a good life. My family has a good life. I would rather indebt myself to get all this stuff. Because then the other thing is like, you could say, well, what if you stop working or stop paying? Then they just come and repo all of it. So it's like the idea is like, you're going to lose it if you stop paying, but then they just make you pay something.
I don't think I could commit to just picking out everything the entire rest of my life all at once. It's like, I wouldn't be satisfied with that. At a certain point, I would be, I don't know, looking at something else and realizing how much value I could have got out of doing that, but I'm already indebted to what I'm doing. So then you almost numb yourself. It's like that's what people do, right? It's like, you know, you have an idea of what you want to do, and then you get close enough to where you can, you know, just deal with it. And it's like, that would be a good life, no doubt. Like it's not a bad situation comparatively, but it also feels like maybe the highest form of slavery possible. That's like, you know, real nice.
Yeah. It'd be interesting though, like let's say a corporation like Walmart, right? They say, okay, you have to work for us.
Oh man.
For 50 years, but up front, we'll give you everything you want.
This feels real realistic.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like at the end of the day, in order to keep, because turnover is huge, right? And if companies are investing so much money into training and teaching and time, I feel like it would be super easy to give people so much money up front and then not have to like worry about them quitting. Because if they quit, then you repossess everything and then you liquidate everything.
See what you're saying. There's definitely some CEOs out there that like what you're saying too, but it's scary because I don't want to give a corporation control over my life like that.
I don't either. I'm just saying, I feel like people might like that they would.
Oh, I think people would.
Yeah.
But those are the same people that would sign up for one of those Wally space.
Yeah, that's true.
Space. What do you call it? Cruises?
Yeah. It's also like hard because like let's just simplify this down of just buying a house, right? Like the fact they only have a 30-year mortgage, and it's weird to think about because of interest, but let's say you have a 5% interest on like $400,000 house. I'm pretty sure you're still going to pay like $700,000, $800,000 just for that house. But it's like, I can't just go to the bank tomorrow, and this is because the housing market crashed, I understand. But like, I can't go to the bank tomorrow and say, hey, I want to buy this $700,000 house. Boom. They're like, here you go. And then them just tell me this is your payment, in the sense of like, it's just an astronomical number that no one's ever going to be able to meet.
I feel like I don't know. Everything I do in my life is like, I don't know. I'm just not typical. Like, I don't do anything typical, normal. It's like, there's the normal stuff that everybody does. And my entire life, I've avoided doing all those things. And I've sort of done other things outside of that like have their own structure to them, but they don't integrate with the rest of society like that. So it's like, for me, I don't know. It's like you have to pick complete normalism, complete like control of your life being exactly this way. And it's like to somebody else's standard, probably, you know. I don't know. I just couldn't do it. I don't know. I like my freedom. And I would even like, because to me, I'm one of those people that would not go be homeless to be homeless and like be on some weird stuff. But like, if go live in a bunch of different varieties for the experience out of those things, and not just to have an experience like some traveler or something, but like, literally go spend time with, villages and whatever, and like, or like Native Americans or something, and like, live off the land and whatever. It's like, or even just in your own life going hunting or camping and stuff like that. Like, I'm not so attached to modern life as it is either. Like, that concept of a house doesn't make perfect sense anymore. Yeah. When it was made, it's a product, first of all. And, they make it so that, well, this is your dining room. This is where you dine. And this is how many people use their dining rooms anymore? Nobody uses it, but it's space that you pay for, right? Yeah. And like these predefined spaces that equal a home that we all pay for. It's like the entire housing market is sort of a scam in and of itself too, to a degree. If you just eliminate all of that and just go, what do I actually need for 1, survival, 2, comfort, and then 3, for like prosperity, to be able to like give to others, provide for others, right? Whether that's family, friends, all this stuff. It's really not that much, and it's really much simpler than people want it to be. But going through conventional avenues like everybody else grows up to go through, you just end up overpaying for everything and getting the wrong version of stuff because you're told that's what you should have or you're supposed to have. Yeah. So I don't know. Couldn't do it.
Yeah. That's another interesting thing to think about, like how you're saying the space, not needing the space. I think that's like, it's so counter to the American thought of like, I just want big. Right. Because the original thing was like Texas, everything's bigger in Texas. Yeah. It's like, I want the biggest this, biggest that. But at the end of the day, like, you can make something so practical and so small that it's like it fits everything that you need. Yeah. And I feel like there's not as many options for that now. And
you hear about those people that live in like giant mansions, and it's like, I haven't even been in that wing of the house, and what? Yeah. It's like, how much wasted money is that? And they don't care because they can afford it, but scale that down. Like you care about, a $1 increase in gas is like a huge deal. Yeah. So, I don't know. I just think if average people problem solved all of their problems from square one by themselves instead of relying on these predefined systems, 1, they'd learn a lot. 2, they'd save a lot of money. But 3, it's like, we'd better understand how much waste we pay for collectively. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of stuff's outdated nowadays. Just like predefined, and we keep using, like, why do we still use microwaves like we do? I mean, a lot of people go, I just use the air fryer now and stuff like that. But dude, microwaves are old technology.
Yeah. Like super old.
And we're just like...
And the more research that comes out, it actually like makes your food like less nutrient dense. Yeah. It's like frying it.
Absolutely. I mean, probably like mutates the DNA of like whatever you put in there, like vegetables or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, water itself, like, it changes, it does something to the water that makes it not as effective, like just the water itself.
Right.
Because that's how it heats up water molecules and then it makes the food
But
hotter.
you could tell a clear difference. I think most people can. Like, go, I don't know, make like, heat up some coffee in the microwave or something. Or maybe that's not a good example, but like tea or hot
oatmeal,
chocolate, anything. Not the same.
At all.
Never is. I don't know. I think, the TV's sort of outdated nowadays, like the structure of that. And I know big TV companies have sort of pivoted to like streaming stuff, all these.
Yeah.
Even those are outdated. Like,
everything is getting outdated fast because technology used to come out so slow, but now everything's just getting pumped out that it's like something 3 years ago. It's also weird to think it's 2025, but like think about something 7 years ago. I mean, that was normal life, and now it's just that's so outdated.
Yeah,
like it's
things that I thought looked so good are just don't hold up at all. And it's crazy though, because as true as that is, we sort of hit this exponential wall of like technological advancement.
Yeah.
But if something's good, no matter when it was invented, it's good.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, technology is maybe a little fickle. It's like, okay, it's like the concept of a TV remained the same till the end, but it's like they had slight little improvements. Like, okay, now it's OLED, now it's whatever.
Yeah.
Right. I forgot where I was going with that, but like just incremental increases to things. But if something is good through and through, it's like it's solid. Sometimes there's like, I don't know. Sometimes like a gun or something like that is like, I don't know, maybe it didn't come out this year or the last 2 years. Yeah. That doesn't mean that all these things that came out in these last 5 years are better. Like, some things are tried and true to a degree and still hold up. But at the same time, something that's cutting edge can be replaced like in a split second.
So talking about guns and technology, that is one industry that has not grown. Like, think about it this way.
Until very recently it started to.
Yeah, but like if you think about, we have compressed air. We have electricity that can generate combustion.
Yeah.
That's a lot cleaner than shooting a gun.
Absolutely.
Because you have to, fire a bullet, I mean, technically explodes in the barrel and creates this propelled bullet, but then you have to clean out the carbon and build up and stuff. But it's like, if it's electricity, you don't have to worry about any of that. And the efficiency is just up because you just have to recharge it.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to, because the expensive part is like the manufacturing of the bullet, putting the primer in, putting the powder. But it's like, if all you're shooting is a projectile because you're using electricity,
right,
then cost goes way down. I feel like
I was talking to somebody about somebody was talking to me about this idea they had about sort of that same thing. And actually this dude, I always forget, but he had some sort of security clearance at one point and worked for one of those.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't Lockheed Martin, but one of those. And he was talking about like energy weapons and about how inefficient like ballistics and guns right now are, and about how if you had an electrical rechargeable battery that you put inside of a system, you use that charge to spark what was it? I forget. It was like there's no more casings or anything. Yeah. You can have now a bigger, more efficient projectile in the first place for capacity and all this type of stuff. It's rechargeable. And there's one big key feature that I'm missing, but like clearly something like that, like whether it's a railgun, I know there's all sorts of stuff out there.
Yeah.
But something new will happen.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be like somebody's going to have to really bring it to market and want civilians to have it.
Yeah.
And that's the big issue.
I also think, on the topic of direct energy weapons, I know I sent you that thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you guys have been paying attention to the news, there's been a lot of planes going down. So my opinion is that it's no coincidence that there's been so many going down in such a short period of time. I mean, there is an asteroid apparently heading towards Earth, but regardless if there's an asteroid or not, direct energy weapons are the next big weapon source for manufacturers, and there's only really one way to test those, regardless of what nation you are shooting. But I think that's one reason that you're seeing a lot of these planes crashing is because somebody's testing direct energy weapon systems. Because all these planes, they're old like tech. Like there's a lot of the planes you fly probably were made in, I don't know how long the FAA is like how long the regulation is, but if I was to guess, I'd be like 2015, right? So let's say all the tech is from 2015. You'd be in your direct energy weapon system is current. You'd be able to fry those, like or make something crash. Like the way that we're seeing a lot of these things go down is like direct energy has to be involved, and that's just my take on it. But
I don't know. I'm curious. I know that there definitely has to be some direct energy technology floating around up there, but it's like, yeah, you really have to question, like, at a certain point if they're testing it on each other or if they're testing it on themselves or what's going on. And that kind of makes sense. I feel there's probably other unexplained events too that maybe could be explained by that.
The reason I think we're using it on ourselves, so I believe we're using it on ourselves. And the reason I say
makes
that
sense to me
is because, I mean, from what I saw doing my research, is that all the passengers on that Delta plane that went down, all they got offered was like $30K each. And for me, I'm like, that just shows they don't care. Like, everybody in there almost died because of negligence. So all they're going to do is pay them.
But that also sounds like lawyers handling a payout claim where they're just going to, all those different people, one of those people, they'll submit that offer to everybody. One of those people is dumb enough to take that $30,000. Then the lawyers argue, look, this other person took the $30,000. That basically means that that's what this is worth on paper because we have one thing to reference that from, and they just do that down the line.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would make sense, but I don't know.
But they don't care, clearly.
Yeah, like I just don't think that with the amount of, I mean, it's not that there needs to be regulation, but in the sense of like, if that's like a death wish, is like you're in the air. There's no like you having control to brake your car. It's like you can't brake something that's in midair. It's like there is no eject seat.
Yeah, not
like,
on those planes.
Yeah, so it's almost like you're just in a flying coffin essentially, and then when you almost die, someone's like, "Oh, well, we'll just give you this." To me, it just screams like we didn't care in the first place. And if you go super dark, like black, like super CIA, they don't care.
No,
you're just a number. All they do is shoot a direct energy weapon system at you and watch it fall. I mean, I think I mentioned it before, but like there's a plane that was shot down back in like the 90s that I think it was the 90s that we shot down, but we say the plane just crashed, right? But they just covered it up.
Right.
So it's like at the end of the day, like they could easily just do that and be like, oh, these people survived, even better. Cool. We don't have to worry about the whatever, but.
Or like even shooting like maybe another satellite with a direct energy weapon. It's like, oh, that service is deactivated or whatever. And we hear some other thing and it's like, oh, we think, sometimes there'll be like a week where AT&T just goes out or whatever, We can get whatever sort of story from AT&T that they've been told to tell us, but what if, maybe that was another country testing that on our satellites, right? See, one, if their technology could do that to a satellite, and two, what the repercussions in our country on a small scale would be.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all social, like mental warfare and like psychological warfare at this point.
Yeah.
What do you think about like, I guess, Trump's pretty much completely denied Zelensky any more funding and and really, just hammered home that we're not doing that. And now he's turned around, complained, and sort of victimized the whole situation to Ukraine. And now Ukrainians hate Trump, and not that they loved him before, but there seems to be a big group of angry people that are mad at Trump, specifically Ukrainian soldiers. And what do you think the overall repercussions of that are?
I think that from what I've seen, Zelensky started throwing a fit because he wasn't involved in negotiations over the war to stop. For me, that's the dumbest argument, because if the United States didn't help, you would have been overtaken. Like, clearly nobody stepped in. Nobody sent troops to stop Russia. and they had to fight. They had to fend off for themselves, right? And they were able to fend off because countries were sending in arms to help them in their defense. But you're clearly the weakest at the table in negotiation. So why would Trump have you at the table when the United States is the reason you're still alive? So at the end of the day, the United States is going to go speak for you.
Right. It's like we're the lawyer for them that they have paid for. It's like, shut up, let your lawyer that you paid for speak, because they know what they're talking about. They're the one that can speak to these people. They'll listen to us.
Because all Trump has to do is say, okay, you're frustrated, we're done.
Yeah.
The United States, Russia, we hope you don't invade, but we are not going to get involved. And then all of a sudden, the United States is the bad guy. It's like, you can't have it both ways. You can't say Trump's being mean because he won't let me in these negotiations, but then it's like, you have no cards to play. You have no more money. You can't play the game anymore. If you look at it as in poker, right? Like, they went all in on their defense, and it's like, you have no more money to play. Like
and they're just trying to bluff their last couple chips.
Yeah, and it's like, the United States has the money. Stop pretending that you're in the game. You're not.
Yeah.
Like, if you were in the game, then you would be at the table, right? If you had...
We didn't even let you in NATO.
Yeah, but that's the other thing is like, all that's been happening is like them, and you have to, I think of it this way, and people could disagree, but I think Ukraine is being extremely selfish that they wanted to get into NATO, because if they get into NATO, I believe Article 5 gets enacted, which means everybody in NATO is in active war with Russia. It's like, you can't be that selfish to assume all these people are then going to send their sons and daughters to die for your country when you weren't even in NATO in the first place. So you're basically saying, oh, come protect us, and then everyone's going to send people to die, which means ultimately a bunch of tactical warheads are going to be used. So for me, it's like he just needs to, because he's worried about getting reelected, right? Like he's saying, oh, we don't want to have elections because we're in the middle of a war. The United States had elections during the Civil War. So it's like, people need to realize that the United States is playing a huge part in trying to de-escalate this, right? Like, the Biden administration wasn't able to get it done because he wasn't powerful enough, but Vladimir Putin now realizes Trump is way more powerful and actually can negotiate. Yeah. And I think ultimately what Trump wants to do is get Europe to pay their fair share and to help them so we don't have to, because we've been doing a lot, right, for everybody at the same time trying to do Ukraine. So I think he wants Europe to take over that instead of us be the one in charge. But he's proctoring a deal. And I think Zelensky throwing a fit is him trying to show his people, oh, like, I care about you. But at the end of the day, like, if the United States said, okay, we're done, then all of his people would hate him because they'd be like, oh, well, we're all dead now because of you. Right. And he would just flee. Like, he would flee the country. Like, he's not going to, at the end of the day, like, that's what I also don't get.
Probably flee to America.
Yeah. I also don't understand, like, he didn't flee. Like, he stayed, but like, at some point, I feel like he should have, like, left. So, because the whole point was, like, they were trying to assassinate him. Mm-hmm. So I feel like a bargaining chip, he should have left and been like, okay, you can't assassinate me. I'm not there. So, like, what's the point of you guys still fighting? Like, because it came to a standstill. Like, it was a stalemate, right? Mm-hmm. Like, after, like, 7 or 8 months, it, like, came to a stalemate because, like, neither side was advancing because the United States kept sending stuff. But then they wanted to assassinate Zelensky. So it's like, if he just leaves and says, okay, you can't kill me now because I'm in protection, whatever, then I feel like they should have proctored a deal. Anyway, long story short, I think that he is misspeaking and has 0 chips left to play, as you put it. Yeah. And that he needs to shut up and let the adults talk because they have nothing.
They don't. And I think you're right. It's extremely selfish because, you know, as contrary to what people think or not, the fact is, like, wars actually nowadays are won in a single night. Yeah. They're not won by large armies over months and years and all that. they're won by tier 1 operator groups in small, small groups, small amounts, in very specific locations with good intel and good technology. And they sort of like, with the level of training that they have and the intel that they have and the technology they have access to, they can sort of just wing a plant, throw it together the night before, but have all of this stuff and not need that many people. And their amount of casualties that they take are minimized completely.
Yeah.
That's how wars are won, especially on our part. Like, that's how we win our wars. And so to ask us for regular troops to go sit there and actually die with uncoordinated plans of attack and minimal resources and, lack of data and communication. And it's just, it's extremely selfish because people are dying. But then it's like, to him, he's looking at that like those are martyrs. So the more martyrs that I get over here, the more funding that I get. And
he also doesn't understand this. Like,
he's not trying to win the war.
Yeah, exactly. He just wants his country rebuilt. But people keep forgetting about this little detail. China has not expended any military resources. The United States has. So if the United States and all these NATO countries go to war, right?
Mhm.
Let's say they accept Ukraine into NATO. They all go to war with Russia, which means that the United States is expending a lot of munitions to fight Russia. It's not going to end in a day either because you're fighting against Russia, which means now China can do whatever they want because now you're in the middle of a war with Russia. You can't fight a two-front war against the Russians and the Chinese in the sense of China could just go take over Taiwan. So in the sense of
they would immediately.
Yeah, like for me, it's like he needs to realize like you are not the only country that matters. Like it sucks, the situation. I'm not saying like I'm glad it's happening. It's like it sucks, but you have to look at it from a global perspective. You're not the only one in the world. Like that's what, we get told as kids growing up. If we're in a bad situation, it's like it sucks, but life's not about you.
Yeah.
And I think that he needs to realize there's a lot at play here that people need to make decisions, and at least someone's trying to stop the war, and at least Vladimir Putin is at the negotiation table and admitting that he wants peace or whatever that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the other guy just needs to be celebrating, hey, there's going to be peace. And he can tell his voters, Zelensky can tell his voters, hey, I'm bringing peace. But it feels like he's like, well, no, I wanted to win. So it's like, I need to make it look like, and I just...
But he's willing to be two-faced and play both sides of the aisle just to gather support, which, I mean, then he makes himself look bad by doing that, and he loses support. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know.
And he's a professional actor, too.
Yeah, comedian, the whole nine.
I want to see... So, I mean, I can look it up as we're having a conversation, but when he was elected, I'm not sure if he was CIA, because you know how... I forget the guy before him, but I feel like...
The director?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who...
Like whoever was the director, I think his name's Michael something. Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff after he left the CIA and quit being the director over there. He was talking about basically how regular civilians are like scum and just like all this anti-humanistic thought process, or I forget what Elon called him on that one podcast of what is it? There's anti-humanists, is that what it was? But basically people that just believe in, thinning the population and poisoning the masses and that whole type of thing.
Yeah, I can't find anything, but my basic thought is like the United States, because I mean, at the end of the day, nothing happens, as you can see with the USAID, like nothing happens without the United States saying something. So it's almost like he got put in there, right, as like a paid actor, and then it all went to his head.
I think, dude, it's like I can talk like we're talking politics, but it's like truthfully, I believe a layer past that where it's like, yes, of course he's an actor, 100% he's an actor. That's why they picked him.
Yeah,
you could say that about a lot of other world leaders. And it's like, for us to really get a proper example of what's going on, outside of our country is crazy.
Yeah.
We don't even get the truth inside of our own country.
Yeah.
So to act like we know what's going on the other side of the world, and for that to, whatever we think that is, to be the absolute truth, like, it just doesn't make sense. And there's too much at stake for people to not be sort of intertwined at a private level. Like, of course, NATO exists and all this type of stuff, but then you've got like how much control does Davos have over the rest of the NATO countries that we don't get invited to necessarily to those conversations, or just those types of people? You know, there's, especially in Europe, there's this like super united coalition type of thing, whether it's the EU, NATO, you know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're all like, hey, we're weak. We wouldn't be anything on our own if we really had to, you know, go at it with a major player like Russia or the US or, you know, China even. Even England couldn't do anything military. Like, they couldn't fight a war by themselves.
No, not even close. I mean, they also, it's like a very utilitarian society in the EU. They basically want everyone to be under these rules and carbon efficient and all this stuff, and they just forget their place. And it's like, you guys rely on natural gas from Russia still, and like all these other things. It's like, you guys don't have anything. You're just buying everything. And it's like, if all these countries just cut you off, you wouldn't have anything.
And it's like the same countries that will be all, you know, super carbon efficient and all that. They like to project like they're the cleanest, most modern, most safe countries in the world and all that. But you know, like not even 40 years ago, you're, you know, supporting the Nazis or, you know, all sorts of different it's like all those countries rebranded under the EU and this new Europe and all this. And I don't know. It's like we're going through a rebranding over here and they want to be mad at it because we're not part of their team is all that is. Yeah. Like, we are the other player that they don't have control over, that's their ally, but we're not really their ally. Like, if they wanted to do something, we're not just going to listen to whatever they're doing. We're going to tell them what we can do. Yeah. And we'll help if we can. If we can't, you're on your own. Yeah. And they expect so much from us. Yeah, literally. But then they'll turn around and just like, I don't know, they belittle everything we do, but then they rely on us so much that, I don't know. To me, we just need to separate entirely from Europe, the other half of the world, everything. People will say we're the bad guy. I don't care. Like, if America is the bad guy, the world is a pretty good place, I'd say. Yeah. And, you know, not to say that America hasn't been, you know, made mistakes in the past. And, you know, a lot of the wars that we have fought are maybe unjust, you know, in a lot of different angles. But, like, ultimately what we're doing now, the progress that we, like, that's our thing. It's progress, growth, showing what's possible. Like, you can't limit us. If you limit us, you limit the rest of the world.
True.
I mean, that's what I think about that.
Yeah. We need to pause real quick. I need to go blow my nose.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll be right back.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
It's affecting my talk.
Yeah, no, I feel it. I mean, not that I felt it, but I know what you mean.
Sorry, folks.
And we're back. I like those little intros. Those are fun.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess going on a different topic now. I think I heard...
Good start. All right, keep going.
Sorry. I think I heard... I was trying to formulate the sentence before I said it, but the amount of technology... Okay, let me preface this by why I'm going to this thought. So I heard that obviously a lot of stuff China is doing is because they're expecting to have a war. So a lot of the vehicles they make, their assembly process, a lot of the stuff is like war based. They want to make sure everything can be used in the sense of in a time of war. So it makes me wonder if a lot of the stuff that Elon is making is like secretly for means to use for war.
I could see that.
Because the rocket technology is there. So
Mhm.
like he could shoot up a rocket at 700 rockets on it and they could fire him down, right? It can land, which means he knows how to maneuver stuff. He has Starlink, right? So a satellite can also be used for other intended purposes.
He's got an AI that can analyze pretty much anything and monitor a lot of things and is being force fed by real humans.
Yep. And he also has the ability to, I think I don't know what it's called. I'm not sure if they have an AI for the cars, like the self-driving cars.
Yeah.
But imagine you start putting out a Cybertruck that has a mounted gun on it and it's an
Right.
AI.
It's like a warthog from Halo.
Yeah. So it's like, for me, it's like I think that Elon is fully a weapons person now.
I think to some degree, but it's like, what is a weapon, right? It's like anything could be a weapon if you use it as a weapon.
Or sorry,
And then
not weapon, but like he's basically a universal mounting bracket. Like, so he's positioning himself to be a universal mounting bracket. That way, whenever the weapons
absolutely.
come, he can be like, oh yeah, I've already integrated a way for you to attach this to my mount.
That makes perfect sense. And if he's not trying to make a standardized like platform of all these things for people to integrate their own technology with, like that's what he should be doing. And I think you're right. He definitely has to leave some sort of, I wouldn't call it a backdoor, but some sort of a universal access point for the technology that he's creating to where something that doesn't exist yet can plug right in.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And the other thing is that's interesting. A lot of people, don't realize, or maybe not realize, in my opinion, I think that he has a backdoor for every single Tesla that's out there, in the sense of, let's say that there is with good intentions, that there's a war and they want to make sure people don't go out. You just shut off everyone's Tesla.
Right.
And you say, sorry, you can't drive, or it says you can't drive that way. Like it won't let you drive that way. So the car will immediately like have to take you a different direction or something like that.
That's wild.
Like I feel like, because imagine if you have tanks that are on that same AI as those drivers.
Oh, there's got to be a cyber tank coming.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's okay. So let's talk about this.
I love that.
How many secret things do you think he has working right now that the public doesn't know about?
Over 200.
Easy,
No
right?
exaggeration.
There has to be,
I think 200 at least active things that he's developing right now.
because he has the perfect cover. That he's doing satellites, he's doing rockets, and he's doing cars. So it's like assembly line stuff. Like no one's gonna know, or you ordering parts, no one's gonna know. The normal person isn't gonna know, but he's able to disguise and hide stuff so easily with all this tech that, people could play him as the bad guy. It's almost like a what's the word where it's like reverse
Psychology?
yeah, reverse psychology is like they're paying him to be the bad guy right now, but everybody knows he's like the main weapons.
I would look at it like this. He's sort of the architect.
Yeah.
Like he's straight up the architect of like, he's going to build this new society that probably eventually touches the Matrix and then maybe develops the Matrix in and of itself, however that works. But at least, like, not a virtual matrix to start, but a technological matrix of products and things that people have access to. And that sort of controls like the thought patterns of humans as a whole, right? So he has control over all that type of stuff. And he's building all the platforms. And I think, somebody kind of has to have access to all this stuff to be able to build this and make it work. So like, I don't know if it's good plans and like everything works out well. I'm not mad at it. I don't care. Somebody needs to do it. And I would much rather have Elon than Bezos or Zuckerberg or Bill Gates.
Because they're all trying to profit from it. Whereas Elon, I feel like he understands that profit is inevitable. So it's not his motivating factor.
There's a margin for it.
Yeah. And so I think, like you said, Bezos, Gates, Zuckerberg, they all are seeking profit margins first, where I think Musk is like, the profit's going to be there, so let's not worry about it. And then he's able to do stuff. That's why I think he is able to put stuff out like Tesla's a lot faster.
Well, I think if you look at like in the past and the era that those other billionaires sort of come from, where like the early building of the internet, like Amazon was not a thing. Jeff Bezos putting this together. It was a revolutionary idea, but everybody thought it was stupid. Nobody wants to buy things off the internet, right?
Yeah.
But we've sort of, from then until now, it's sort of been automated and brought up to speed, so to speak. But the idea of it is the exact same thing that's always been. He's sort of stagnant in the idea. And as other technology and creators, as that stuff becomes more prevalent, it's like you become this old, outdated technology that eventually one change, we can go, we don't like that. We don't need that anymore. Yeah. Whereas Elon, it's sort of that fast food mentality where like even, videos have gotten shorter form and more condensed and things just don't last as long in trends. Where Elon can reinvent himself and keep coming up with a new thing. And it's like you don't have to make the maximum amount of profit off of every single idea. Yeah. You need to make the maximum out of ideas that profit the most people. Yeah. And it's like your longevity and your trust of the people is there. Yeah, it's more valuable than all the money the others have.
I think that it'd be an interesting idea. Okay, because you have Chinese companies like Temu and Alibaba, right? They take over Amazon, right? It's like they just blow it out of the water. I'd be interested to see if, in the depths of conversation that nobody would ever hear of, if Elon and Jeff Bezos were talking about combining Twitter and Amazon. I think that would be insane because people are already on there, right? They're there for entertainment, but if they're able to shop from X.
Now, what do you think is more likely, that Elon and Bezos would team up or Zuckerberg and Bezos? Because they're, like we were talking earlier a little bit, they're almost competing with each other for like spot number 2, because Elon clearly has spot number 1 of technology, influence, and that type of stuff. So if they teamed up though, they could maybe take over that number 1 spot and then decide after, or create an alternative version at least.
I would say I wouldn't agree, because I think Bezos is looking at like who is in control of like the best social media. And I think X is the best and most relative.
Has the most potential.
So it's like if they teamed up against Zuckerberg, they could just bankrupt Meta.
The way that I look at it though is that Amazon is a dying company. And I also think the same about Meta. Meta is sort of 50-50. They would be a dying company if they didn't have all these other ventures where they're trying to mirror some of the Elon stuff with their own AI, their virtual stuff. They're trying to. It used to just be Facebook and that sort of stuff, and then now it's all these new future promises, and so that's interesting. But if they don't fulfill any of those promises or anything, and it's just Facebook and Instagram, like that's all dying. That's nothing. So if those two people combine their thing and sort of had something that Elon doesn't quite have yet because he has his hands full, it's like they have an opportunity to make a wave at least.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. X is definitely the best platform. There's going to be shopping integrated at some point.
Yeah. I think he already has the patent for like the money to use money on X.
Good. Because the live streaming aspect, that's what they really need.
Yeah.
Is like monetization and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, so I just had the thought come to me when we were talking about like the car insurance stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's along the lines of Tesla. Imagine if Tesla's like next marketing thing is like, hey, our car is so safe that like you don't need insurance. You don't have to pay for anything. You buying a Tesla immediately comes with like free insurance.
That'd be cool.
Because like the whole point of insurance, like you buy insurance so that, you don't get screwed, right? You don't, but it's like if your car is so safe that the person in it is not going to die because of the engine. Let's just say their engineering is like top class. Like it's physically impossible for you to die from a collision under 80 miles an hour, right? So it's like if you're going 1,000 miles an hour, you're going to die. But it's like if you're going 80 miles an hour and under, it's like, sorry, like you're not going to die. Like we've engineered it to this way that you're not going to die. You don't need insurance. So if you get in a car accident with a Tesla, because they're so cheap to make, that they're like, okay, you have lifetime insurance. Like I think that would be like
they could do that.
But like think about how many people would be like, oh, I'm gonna buy a Tesla because I don't have to pay for insurance because the insurance is being subsidized from Tesla. So it's like you have insurance, but it's free. So therefore, you're not the regulation doesn't go away in the sense of like you have to have insurance right now. So Tesla just says, hey, you have to have insurance. We'll give it to you for free if you buy a Tesla.
I wonder if they could do an insurance audit, because somewhere all the insurance agencies have to like report to the government.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's space for him to, I think he wants to do like
He could easily come out with his
like
own
education and other things first, but
yeah, he could easily come out with his own insurance company based for Tesla. Because if you think about it, what a better way to grow your company is like, hey, we'll make your car the extra safe model, right? Like you have to pay for these premiums, but the idea is like, okay, you get it's almost like gap insurance, but for like the longevity of the car, you get free insurance on that car, right? So not just like you get it on a different car. It's like you can only use this car insurance if you're driving this Tesla, and it's only valid for the duration of the life of this car. So if it gets totaled, it goes away, and you have to buy a new Tesla. But it's like you could pay a premium for it, right? So the longevity of a car, if you think about a car's longevity, you're hoping for like 10 to 15 years. So it's like, imagine you paying $5,000-$6,000 up front for 10 to 15 years of free insurance. People will pay that premium.
yeah.
And especially if they have like, oh, and we're going to throw in the other premium package of the anti-dead package where you can't die. And that's another $5,000. So now he just generated $10,000 from each purchase just for implementing this new tech that he would have already sold in a car. But then he's getting more loyal customers.
I also think there's ultimately, I think he wants to, for transportation, get away from personal vehicles anyway.
So like community vehicles?
Maybe start with like a rideshare service that's all Teslas, it's all like Cybertrucks, and yeah, maybe even he could add like built-in weapon defense system in this thing, right? That's only going to activate if there's a real threat, but it's like,
You're talking about monthly subscriptions too?
perhaps I don't know exactly what the model is, but just like, there's different tiers of like Uber right now. It's like whatever you want to pay for, like that's what's going to come get you. But if you just need a basic ride, it's just a regular Tesla or something, just automated, and there's probably not any locks on there. But if you want bulletproof, has defensive, whatever sort of VIP transportation, that's available too. And then there's
tunnels.
The tunnels, right? Yeah. And then because right now there's like Tesla tunnels or whatever, but the full idea is actually not for Teslas. It's a series of intertwining tubes that, just all weave around each other underground. And they're sort of like, you get on like a subway car. It's like you're just in that car.
Yeah.
But what if you had a personal one that sort of isn't, it's a pod. It's not connected to the other things, and it's fully furnished to however you want it. It could be like sort of a house in its own right, but it can go anywhere.
And it'd be way cheaper than an airplane too. Because like if you take this idea to like New York to LA in 3 hours in your own little pod that's on the ground,
right,
and you don't have to worry about flying, and it's cheaper, way cheaper electricity compared to.
And if you think too about, because this will all be electronically operated, right? Yeah. When you're accelerating these cars, it's like, so right now they'd probably get up to speed real quick and then stay up to speed. But if they can slowly increase like from nothing all the way up to a very fast speed, like the gradual acceleration, you could get up to way higher speeds without affecting humans. And it's like, you just get used to that.
Oh yeah.
And travel from, like California and New York in like, maybe it might be possible in like an hour, but that might be pushing it.
Yeah. I mean, but you could also do like, because of speed control, you have to have people sit in the seats with seatbelts on because it's just too fast, like, and stuff happens, right? So it's like, you could easily do, okay, we're going to do 65 miles an hour. It's a pod, has some beds in it, fully furnished, so you can walk around the whole time. You can go sleep in a bed, and you're going to get there when you get there. But it's nonstop, right? So it's like, from New York to LA, let's say it's going to take you 22 hours to get there, but you can just live your life in that pod for 24 hours. So it doesn't matter. So people would be like, okay, whatever, that's a day of travel. But if you want to get there in an hour, you have to be strapped in, and then you're going to get there, but you're going to be like strapped in.
I love that idea. I actually I want a future where, yeah, we don't need all this stuff. Everybody can sort of share a bunch of cool basic stuff. And then if you want to have like cool other things, like I think drones are going to be huge. Everybody's going to have a personal drone. You go outside, you're going to see nothing but drones all over. But you're also not going to be so worried about all these drones and everything. It's like you're going to learn how to, you know, deal with these drones, avoid these drones. If you don't want to be, you know, seen by all these, maybe don't walk outside with your face out. And, you know, it's like, it's gonna make us smarter, but also more used to this technology, and we're gonna care less, which is sort of a good thing, but sort of a bad thing. I think it's sort of gonna be, you have base level people, and they just use their drones for like Uber Eats basically and stuff like that. You know, go grocery shopping for me. But then you're gonna have a bunch of people that are like specialized off-grid hackers almost, that are like doing really interesting things anonymously. It's like when everybody has all this technology out there and there's sort of like a layer of untraceability to it, but that it's accessible by everybody. It's like the amount of things that can be done in public, and then, you know what I'm getting at? To where it's like, it's a whole different world where politically we don't rely on, you know, any sort of source. Because right now it used to be the TV, now it's the internet. We're just relying on the source to come to us. If there was people out there that are, I don't know, doing displays or hacking things with their drones, or, you know, it just seems like a fully a world you can interact with.
Yeah.
You know, and that anybody can, and it stops being so much about what's legal and what's not. When everybody has the capability to do things, everything sort of becomes legal. And that's the part where it's like, then it's free again, right?
Yeah.
Because like at first technology starts putting restrictions on things. And then eventually there's so much technology you can't restrict anything.
Yeah.
That's the ideal place I want to live in.
Yeah, I mean, it's very utopian.
It is.
But I think what you were saying about like the car service, I mean, that only works if nobody can drive. Because like, first you get trolls who are like trying to like hit these automated cars. Like that's inevitable. But like, if let's pretend that everyone's not driving and it's just these automated cars that are coming and picking you up, that'd be very interesting cost-wise, because they would make those things so durable and so well built that they wouldn't have to then keep pumping out so many. Because right now they're like cheaply made, so it's like they're gonna, especially if they're being driven as much as we're talking about, you're gonna have to re-pump out a bunch. So the quality is going to be really good. The durability is going to be really good on these things, which is almost like the movies that you see, like of like the, trying to think of like the Alita, like type time frames, like
where
you see these like super metal heavy durable things that are like driving, but they're like hovering and whatnot. But it's interesting to think about Tesla and like the price point. Like if everybody, like, let's do the quick math here. If you had half the country, let's just say it was 125 million people, all have this subscription to get these vehicles. And let's say that you have like 3 tiers. Let's say the middle tier was like $50 a month, right? If you times that by 50, that's $6.2 billion a day or a month that company would be making.
Does that pay for? I mean,
just on subscription service of a middle tier. Like if half the United States, that's just the United States, had that, where it's like a vehicle would come like $6 billion every month. That's an insane amount of money.
I want to know what portion of our monthly budget that would cover. Like just that alone. If say like, if that's Elon's company or whatever, if they donated all of that to funding everything the government pays for, like what percentage of that would that cover?
Yeah, it'd be weird. Like it'd be,
and so I think I brought up on one of our early episodes about like solving the energy crisis and all sorts of things in our country just with a roadway system that's a bunch of LED solar panel tiles that click together on the road. It's like, the amount of money those are the projects our government should be doing, right? efficiency is great where we like trim the fat and cut off all the things that we don't need, but we need to re-implement some new things that are going to, push us into the future and modernize everything. We live in this fallacy where everything's modern now. It's like nothing will ever get better. It's like, we got real modern. Remember modern art and modern furniture? It's like, it's square one. That's what somebody would have done if they weren't trying to make something.
Yeah.
And so we need to keep innovating. With that technology, we were talking about like China and, or really we were talking about, does Elon have a back door into all these things? And people fear that about China. I was thinking about this the other day, actually. Like Hollow Sun.
Yeah.
Like there's all these Chinese
Are they really?
optics for guns. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
they're
know that.
100% made in China. And basically they're Hollow Sun, if you don't know, they make accessories for guns, mostly optics. And they're all electronic. They've gotten a lot better over the years, and honestly, they're probably, I would say 90, very close, like 75% of the optics out there that people are carrying with and have on they're all Hollow Sun nowadays.
Yeah.
And we've all come to accept that. That's okay with us. I just got a Hollow Sun light on my rifle over there, and it's like, it just begs a question at a certain point. If the mass amount of gun-owning Americans are putting Hollow Sun devices on their guns, and then some sort of Red Dawn type situation were to occur, and they have a backdoor to disable all of our devices. I don't know. What do you think about? I was literally thinking about that the other day.
Or
and
just
it's fun-
tracking
it's funny
technology
you brought that up.
to be like, they could see where every single gun is.
Or even like, now they have these thermal holographic sites that you can record on them too, and people will use those for hunting and other things. But there's a camera in there. It's like, just to access that stuff is crazy. But I think just disabling that stuff altogether, like imagine there's, some sort of, not saying Red Dawn is likely, but if something like that happened, there's literally like Chinese soldiers parachuting in the morning and Americans are waking up and grabbing their guns and going out there. It's like, if those things disable, like that's a huge, like the majority of the weapons sort of become useless instantly.
Yeah,
And of course that's why you would want to have some backup sites or something, but like
co-witness.
insane.
Yeah. That'd be weird. I mean, I don't even know how you would test. I mean, because they do the same thing with washers and dryers and refrigerators and vacuums. Like China puts stuff in. And so it's like, it wouldn't be out of the norm, but
no, not per se.
it would be, I don't know. That'd be weird. That'd be an interesting one.
I think it's almost entirely likely that that's built into all Chinese electronics mandatorily somehow, and that not that that's used, but it's like in case of this event, they will use it,
Yeah.
We probably have the same type of stuff, just like how, I don't know, Apple at one point had agreements with the government to, allow the government to access our information or whatnot. It's like, I don't know. I just think like there's backdoors in everything. If you don't think that like governments, especially foreign governments that don't like us, would have a backdoor into the technology that they give us, like it's just dumb.
Oh yeah.
So,
I mean, that's why we signed the terms and conditions.
right.
All the back doors that we're accepting.
I'm not reading that.
Yeah, literally.
I never do.
That's the whole point.
I act like I will sometimes, and I try to read it, and I'm just like, yeah, I need a lawyer.
There's a reason that they make it 400 pages.
It's insane.
Yeah.
What do you think about loopholes in general?
What do you mean, like ideas of loopholes, or just like?
Just like, it's my belief that America is about arguing. It's all about arguing a perspective, an interpretation, there's a loophole in everything. And that's what first of all, the English language sort of has loopholes built into it in the way that things can be understood or interpreted different, or there's like, I don't know. And then like our laws are sort of built up in a certain way where we have, I don't know, I think there's loopholes in everything, and that's how you win in America, is not necessarily exploiting the loopholes, but using them correctly. and then knowing how to structure one for whatever you're trying to do. Because you could argue anything, and if you can argue anything correctly in the court of law, you can get that documented and done. But that doesn't mean that's like the total, albeit, outcome.
I mean, I think that the people who write the laws, right, the legislator in general, they put loopholes into everything because they realize, like, for instance, like getting executed for treason or doing something that's going to get you prison time. There's loopholes that they've put in there for a reason so that they don't have to pay penalties. So that's the way something we don't know, but they have teams of people that know all these loopholes, and that's why you don't see these people or companies getting in trouble, is because they know the legal loophole. So I think loopholes are put in for people that have money, so that way they don't have to abide by the law that they write.
I agree. And then I also think, just like you were saying, like a lawyer, you have to be board certified to be a lawyer. So there's a board of lawyers that you sort of are loyal to, and they can sort of dictate, the way that things operate, whether a loophole is accessible or not in a current time period. Same thing with doctors, though. You have to be certified to become a doctor. You're a board certified doctor, I think, too, right?
Yeah.
But whether it's a doctor, lawyer, any of these elite sort of jobs that clearly have decisions and there's like legality to what you can and can't do, and there's gray areas. It's like it seems intentionally left there for the people that are part of the system. And whether it gets to be all like Illuminati, they're in a big club or not, even on a smaller level, if it's literally just doctors that are just, they have to deal with insurance companies and all this type of stuff, they're probably using loopholes to save money, to do other things that make sense business wise. Yeah. It's not always like getting out of trouble for doing something you're not supposed to, but and even taxes, like people were getting on Trump for, oh, he didn't pay taxes or whatever. It's like, and then he was like, yeah, if you were smart, you wouldn't either. Right?
Yeah. The whole conversation with Hillary is basically saying like, you used the same system that I used to manipulate taxes. Yeah. I mean, I think loopholes are inevitable in a system that's capitalist, especially if you have people who are elected every 4 years and you're able to have, what are they called? Like the groups, like not the PACs, but the lobbyists come and like try to get you on their side and put like, there's a reason why there's all that stuff. So I think loopholes are inevitable. But it's interesting to think too, the original Declaration and Constitution, like there aren't loopholes. It's almost like they're loophole breakers.
They are.
And it's like, you can't loophole your way around the First Amendment.
They really try though.
Yeah. Or like Second Amendment, right? Like they are really trying, but they're so definitive that it's like, you may not infringe. Like Second Amendment or the First Amendment, right? It's like, sorry, there's a First Amendment. Like there is no loophole that you can get people in trouble for this or XYZ. So it's interesting to see the Constitution itself was built without loopholes in it.
Yeah. And specifically worded to avoid any development of loopholes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest thing though is like they choose when they want to abide by the Constitution or not, and it takes so long for somebody to actually get in trouble and then use the Constitution as their defense to properly change things.
True.
It's like we need more. It's crazy they can even make arguments in court. Like the Constitution should be the first thing we're addressing. No matter what you did, let's go down this list. Did you break any of this? Let's start there.
Yeah. And
then we'll reverse examine that thing about what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Constitution's cool. I love it.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
That's why we have the best country in the world.
It's our saving grace at the end of the day.
Yeah, because all these other countries, they just start adding stuff. Whenever they want to change something, they're like, you know what, we're just going to change it. Like you can see with Europe, they're falling apart because they went super liberal. And they're like, you know what, we're just going to change all this to where you say something we don't like online, then you're going to get in trouble. And it's like, there's a reason why like kings and monarchs were in control for so long, is because it was like, if you do something we don't like, we're going to kill you or put you in jail. Yeah. If you say something we don't like, we're going to kill you and put you in jail. And that's what they're all going back to. They're all going back to a giant oligarch society of like, you have to please us. And we all know how that ended with a bunch of beheadings with the guillotine. So it's like, that's where they're going back to, is the people who are, they make it seem like it's for the people, but they're
Right.
not. They're just a bunch of rats that they're putting in a lab. And ultimately they are controlling to get back to full utopian control. Whereas the United States was like, no, the people will forever be in control. And these are rights that you cannot, like, there's no way to rewrite the Constitution or end anything unless the country burns and falls. Like, there's no way. Anyway, so it's to me, it's like super cool that and blessed. I mean, we're blessed to be able to be in a country that the founding fathers thought of all that.
We are. I mean, and growing up with the idea that, you know, in America, you can do whatever you want as long as you work hard and believe in it enough. It's like everything's possible. And yeah, being in a monarch is in 2025 to have a king or queen dictate indefinitely what's going to happen, and for that, you know, to actually be making change that, I don't know, some of the, like, the free speech stuff that they have going on where there's just a lack of it. You can't what's the word? Not discriminate, but you can't talk bad about the government, essentially.
Yeah.
That is inherently, like, the biggest way that they can get away with corruption. We think it's bad over here. I would bet that if somebody actually was allowed to look into what England has going on, it's way worse than we could ever imagine. And I think there's something weird and symbolic about I forget what his name is, but the king over there now, and the transition between having a queen for so long and then now it's a king again. And there was, like, I want to say before her it was another queen, and it was like might have been 3 queens back to back over there.
I don't remember. Well, I mean,
they haven't had a king in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, because Elizabeth was a queen for a while, but
Right.
I don't remember the structure of it. But it's interesting to think about them go. I mean, ultimately, there's one person who wants to be in charge of anything or of everything in that country. I mean, and that's ultimately what it's people want to go back to is have. But it's not that they want one person anymore. It's like they just want the board of directors in charge of all of it, and then you just get on the side of a board of director, and then there's like a class break. It's like everyone up top, and then there's just the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's like that's what they want, is they want everybody to work and be trapped in this working cycle of just you burning energy, and then we're going to be up top, kind of like Alita Battle Angel, right? And Zalem. Like everyone's up top, and that's the party class, and then everybody down below.
I think that's what, of course you didn't watch it, but that's what Squid Games is really about. Squid Games is really about that, where, you know, you're just, the elite are watching like it's TV, it's entertainment, it's all this stuff to them. And to a degree, it probably 100% is. They probably have some sort of influence over the game that we live in, you know? It's like, there's enough excess to where if something happens economically, these oil companies could actually get through this time period without increasing their prices, right? But, you know, it probably gets sort of voted on to a degree, like how our economy fluctuates the way that it does, because not everything has to work the way that it does, but it's because these corporations are in place, you know, and those are the people that own the corporations, sit on those boards, and therefore they're elite because of it. So, I don't know. It's just really interesting. And I'm curious specifically about England, because I think they're like, everybody forgets. It's like everybody's so focused on the U.S. and the president and all this, whatever's going on over here, where you forget there's a literal king over there that just gets his way with stuff.
I think it's more formality, isn't it?
That's what they say, but I don't believe it, because they say that Parliament is really in charge and all of this, but the king has absolute command. Like, so it's like the king can change. The king could tell the people on Parliament, you know, to change their stuff and make their life hard, so that they have to change it. But yeah, ultimately on paper and on the news, it is the Parliament dealing with stuff. But I think it goes back to like that weird thing we were talking about. The Vatican, London, and like Washington D.C. are all one tri-city state thing, and they have all weird loyalty to each other. I feel like there's something weird and sneaky that the king has going on, that, like, I don't know, I can't quite explain it. But also, like, the amount of money that they have, just the royal family alone, on the royal scepter, on the crown, just the jewels on there.
Yeah.
Like they have like the combination of the jewels on the crown and the scepter. That they have more money there in just those jewels than the rest of the world combined. But it's not on paper. They don't count that as part of their wealth or their income. It's like there's a lot of stuff that's just off the table, but it's all in plain sight to a degree. So I don't know. I'm fascinated with England and what's really going on over there.
Yeah.
It can't be what it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, it's also weird because their mouth is so big for how tiny they are as a country.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, because it makes sense because they used to conquer territories, right? They used to be everywhere. They'd have provinces forever, but now they're kind of just small. I don't know. It's just it's weird to watch them do their thing, but it's also, it's almost like they are the test dummy for like how the globalist power wants to control everybody. So it's like they are already so liberal that it's like, okay, let's test what uncontrolled immigration looks like. Let's test what hate speech laws look like, or you can't say this thing or whatever. Like they're testing a lot of stuff in England and in Europe in general, I guess, but especially in England, they're testing a lot of stuff. And it makes me wonder, are they just the lab rat for just a statistic just to see, okay, is this working? How is this working? Is it resulting the way we want it to?
Imagine none of the borders are real anywhere. What if that's not the real map of control?
That'd be weird.
Like what if, you know what I mean, on some sort of super, super elite level, whoever owns the U.S. also owned China?
I see
Like,
what you're saying.
you know what I mean? Like none of these borders are fake and fabricated for control entirely. Like literally every single border on the map is not true.
So there's like there's like 8 families. One family owns all the ocean. One family owns this continent. One owns this continent.
Maybe.
That'd be insane.
It would be crazy. But I mean, what a better way to, to really experiment.
Yeah. Ultimately, like we've talked about before, but there has to be one person in charge or having ability over a bunch of different stuff
At some point, because it was all conquering from the start, just conquering each other, back and forth, new empire, this and that, and it all sort of grows in size.
Yeah.
Eventually, somebody would have conquered the entire world. Like it would have happened.
Yeah.
The fact it hasn't happened yet, we all sort of stalemated out into this weird little era that we're just stay trapped in, and it's really the past, but they sell it as the future.
Yeah.
It's like there's no reason for that to stagnate unless like there's agreement across the board from somewhere. Somebody would be, ballsy enough to just go against the grain somehow, start a chain of events, and it would have happened a long time ago. So the fact that I don't know, it's almost like they like to sell the advancement of technology and like the Cold War and nuclear technology as being, oh, the threat is so great that nobody possibly could. I don't believe any of that. Like, Japan got bombed twice, and both of those cities are back up and operational, and it's like that was a whole war. So I don't know. I don't believe most things, and I think there's a lot of like gaps to be filled in for our own timeline. It's like I think we are told probably 30% of the story or 33% of the story, and maybe half of that is a lie in general. The rest of it is basic facts and human stuff.
Yeah.
The rest of it makes it all go together because it's a convenient lie to not let you know about the other 2/3 of what actually makes everything what it is. Probably a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it just goes back to the secret societies and people having control like that. I mean, it eventually I think it's just an oligarchic society where they just want control. So
They absolutely do. Did you ever watch The Simpsons?
I've never sat down and watched an episode.
Dude, I never really watched The Simpsons either. It wasn't really my show. But I just want to pull this up real quick. Nope. Hold on. It's just crazy. The Simpsons is right about a lot of things, and they say it predicts the future or whatever.
Yeah.
But so this Mr. Burns guy or whatever, he's like the evil CEO, rich millionaire, elitist guy in the show. He is sort of based off of Jacob Rothschild.
Go back.
I did it.
It's on those over there.
Gotcha. There we go. Yeah, okay. So this guy right here is Jacob Rothschild, and he's 100% who this Mr. Burns is based off of, like to a T.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. But if you really look into the stuff that he's done, and like there's a picture of him with the king and other people in front of that weird red picture and all sorts of stuff. But he's involved in a bunch of crazy things. But it's crazy that, I don't know, you can't tell me that's not him.
No, it has to be based off of him.
But I love the things like that are just like sprinkled in there in such a nonchalant way. Where like someone is like, "Shut up, The Simpsons," you know.
Yeah.
But man, the facts are there.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even know true ownership. Like these guys, like Elon and Bezos, they're paying homage to somebody. Like somebody's allowed them to get to where they're at, right? And it's like, I wonder what that conversation would be like. It's almost like John Wick-esque, like just so much power is under.
I feel like
one
there's no
person's-
selection. You're born into the bloodline, and that's that. And you're going to be this, or you will die.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, you're almost taken captive by your own family and being a prisoner to your destiny is how they would probably look at it. You know, and so I would look at people like Greta Thunberg as being a puppet of what she's supposed to be. She's actually related to the Rothschilds. I forget exactly how, but she's like one of the probably that guy's niece or somehow related to that guy. But clearly she's in a position to be this like, you know, world-saving environmentalist, science-pushing type of person. But when you look into it, it's like she's not even authentic. Like, you know, if you really look into her facts are all over the place. She's not like...
She's a walking billboard for
She's just
propaganda.
a mouthpiece for all this. And there's a lot of people out there that I think are... Like, that's what... You know, this isn't crazy to say. Like, all of our celebrities, oh, yeah, they're, you know, somehow tied into some elite group and have loyalties. That's not crazy at all. I think all these people that we know and are put in front of us, they're all, you know, and look into famous people being related or being cousins and like being like, it's all super, super closely related that these people just happen to be in the industry and like family and nepotism. I mean, that's a thing in a lot of industries. Like, you know, people would say like, you know, like, I don't know what percentage of lawyers are Jewish, but like a good percentage. And that's like, they keep it in the family. They hand it down. It's like an expectation, not entirely, but it's more so of an expectation in that community. So they're just going to keep it tight knit. But those are like the explainable ones. For people that have no business doing anything, and then they all sort of have this fabricated nothing to then, you know, they got selected because they're just that talented. How did you and your cousin and your other cousin all separately in 3 different cities get selected, you know? But yeah, I think people are like Elon is from the intelligence community. His dad was part of the CIA. His mom, I forget exactly what she did, but if you look at her, she's kind of controversial. People say she's a witch.
Oh, jeez.
All sorts of weird things.
As you're talking, I'm just going to look up something real quick.
His dad owned I want to say he owned a mine in South Africa. But yeah, there's like a lot of like weird red flags about, you know, the upbringing of him and maybe his loyalties make you question all these things. And then there's always the weird thing where for Halloween, he dressed as like the a character called Satan's Champion. Did you see that?
No.
It's look that up after you pull this up. But
I'll pull it up.
yeah, so Elon Satan's Champion. But it was like Elon could be anything for Halloween. And he decided to be, go to images. He decided to be this like Spartan warrior for the devil. You just drag that tab. Yeah, this is crazy. It's like this Spartan warrior thing. You wouldn't really notice what this is exactly until you like zoom in on the details. You notice that there's a big Baphomet head on his chest. And apparently this is like a super expensive costume called Satan's Champion is what this is. And he wore this to some sort of awards show. But there's pictures of him the night before this award show.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Right. A lot of people saw this, didn't think anything about it. Like really zoom in on some of these things and you start to notice like,
Yeah.
okay, that's weird. And then looking into it, it doesn't really seem like it's really a character from anywhere. It seems like this is just something. And for him to pick that, I mean, a lot of people would say he's trolling, but
Is he really?
is he really trolling? And there's a lot of other weird things about Elon that it's all like slight hidden symbols or like, oh, something barely being in a picture and like, hey, what is that? Oh, I've looked that up. That's this ancient symbol of something, right? A guy like that knows all these types of things, right? Like whether it's some ancient, powerful something, he knows all this stuff and he's like projecting some of this stuff clearly.
Yeah.
And for his, like, you know, just his family to be from the intelligence community and, you know, basically super tied in with some sort of elite group somehow.
Yeah.
It's just odd that he would be so open about putting some of these things out there. And not just Elon. I think a lot of people, you could go down the rabbit hole on this exact concept with everybody.
Yeah. That's weird. Okay, hold on, let me exit out of this real quick. So the thing I was wanting to pull up was, I gotta go back. This mouse.
Yeah, it's not the best. I think Trump too, with his uncle being in the CIA and like, I don't know what like anybody before his dad really did, but it's like everybody has long lists of power. Like real people in power don't just become powerful overnight. It's like handed down through blood. 100%. Oh yeah.
So like, if I can hold on.
Yeah. No, this is good because this is a very thorough breakdown.
Let me go down here. It goes all the way to there. Hold on. I'm gonna bring up a different one.
And it doesn't even stop at the presidents either. There's I don't know how many world leaders, but at least you know, like the Queen of England was related to George Bush and Obama.
I'm trying to find. There was a.
There's a good one a little girl put together.
Oh, this video is like, are all the presidents related? I forget what his video. Useful charts. That's what it's called. But yeah, I think it's so interesting that it's basically like every single president is somehow related. I mean, you can see like like on this left side is like the Roosevelt family tree, and like Teddy Roosevelt's related to Franklin Roosevelt, and then you have Ulysses S. Grant in there and Coolidge, and then John Adams comes from a different line, and John Quincy Adams is there, and then George Bush and George Bush Sr. are on there. It's interesting to see all these people. I mean, ultimately, if there are settlers that came over, some of them are going to be related. Like it makes sense. But like to see how long the line, it's been a while. Yeah. And to see how people are still involved, right?
It's like a clear effort into keeping things in the family over, power in the family.
Yeah, because you have like Lyndon B. Johnson is sharing like Zachary Taylor's bloodline, James Madison's bloodline, James Polk's bloodline, Abraham Lincoln. So Lyndon B. Johnson's connected to that. But then Barack Obama is also a part of Lyndon B. Johnson. So it's interesting to see all these like bloodlines that are
I just want to throw a slight twist into this whole thing that's just, conspiracy idea. A lot of people would say the United States is just a corporation. On paper, it is. Sure. It is just a corporation. So what if there's actually a country that we live in that's not America? Like the United States of America is the corporation that we live in, but the actual land is owned by a country we don't even know exists, and there is a true king.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The whole time.
Yeah, it makes sense because then every country is in charge of some aspect of business, of capitalism, and exporting this thing, and then because it eventually creates this giant machine that's like never ending, right?
Right.
Because it's like everyone has to use their money and trade. That's the other thing for me is like trade is so seamless. Like everything is like fractured or structured in such a way that it's like,
Well, if everybody had everything perfect and like everything was accounted for and fair and even, everybody's living a good life, there'd be no value in anything. Like we need some people to be stuck in worse situations so we can create value, right? Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that they would do that. But also like just our country having, that bloodline running so deep, that's how kings treated that the whole time. Like that's always what that's been about. So it'd kind of be interesting, not to say that the president is the king, although that could be the case. Somebody else could be the king too. It's just that, I don't know. We seem to still be carrying on the idea of like passing down these bloodlines, even though we're not under that monarchy situation.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I thought it was super. I saw it one time, but there's another map that I saw that it was like also tied to the king and queen of England.
Yeah,
and you should look at that one because I think like Hillary is on that list and like.
Yeah, she's got to be on some lists, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me look this one up.
But yeah,
you've heard of the 13 families?
I have. I just don't know who they are.
Okay, that was weird. I'm gonna pull up a crazy document that has been up on the internet for a long time. Normally it comes up pretty quick.
Was it the first one, Library of Congress?
Oh, was it the? No. I think it's on CIA.gov.
Oh.
Bloodlines of the Illuminati here.
Oh, nice.
There's a whole PDF of this big book here. But is this the one I'm thinking of specifically? Specific groups. Okay. I don't know if this is exactly the one that I was looking at, but there is on the CIA. I want to say, no, it totally said the 13 families. Hold on. 13 families that rule.
That's crazy if there's still this like cabal of families running everything.
Maybe it is the Library of Congress thing. Could have swore it was the CIA thing. Or maybe this just doesn't exist anymore. No, this is totally not it. But anyway, it would help if I
Type in
spelled things
CIA.
right. Yeah.
No, it's just
Okay, so at one point, you're just going to have to take my word for it. Maybe I'm misquoting the document, but there was on the CIA.gov basically a PDF like that. Maybe it was that. I'll have to look at it again. I'll let you guys know next episode. But it was a complete list and documentation of the 13 bloodlines that rule the world, so to speak, and that's what it listed in there. But the families were, I don't know all of them, but it was like, of course, the Rothschilds, the Onassis, the Kennedys, the Rockefellers. I don't know if I said that one already.
no.
But it was like, of course we know those names.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of other families on there too that are maybe less known publicly. They're not as famous. And then see some of these family lines, it's like you might have a different last name, but you still have blood of somebody in a family. So some of these families can rebrand through marriage and things like that and still hold powerful positions. But when you look into it and you just go through this list of names and then research all those names, you see how much control all those people still have, their descendants and what they're doing now. Some of it gets a little wishy-washy where like, what happened to this person? Where'd this go? Like, clearly we don't have all the details, but the structuring of the family and the bloodlines is there. And like, there's a lot that goes into it, but it's like supposedly like the Council of 13, like it's, the head of each of those families, they meet. Those are supposed to be, that's the elite meeting right there, supposedly. But there's a million different groups of other, supposed elite meetings and groups too. But That's like the main one that comes up.
So they get and meet together and decide the direction of the world that they want.
Yeah,
Basically.
pretty much.
That's crazy.
Supposedly. But they also like they intermarry their families a lot, like i.e., Jackie Onassis and JFK getting married. Like it's this clear like bloodline obsession of keeping power.
Yeah, that's what the king and queen of England do. Like but that's the thing. They don't, maybe they just don't want to title it. Maybe they just don't want the title of king or queen because they're just like, whatever. Like we run this thing.
I think that's sort of how it goes, like on paper. That's what I'm saying, where we might even have a secret king we don't know about.
Yeah.
Because he might technically be king and have all the power and all that stuff, but he's not on paper to us. We don't know that's the case, but it doesn't matter if we know or not. He still has control.
Yeah.
He could a king could tell the president, hey, do this and that, and then the president does this and that and that.
Yeah.
But the king also tells all the other people to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
What if the king had a team of people to write the scripts for every politician, every major player, and everything? It's like, man, we think about like the budget for TV and stuff. We're like, wow, that's good writing or whatever. The budget of America is insane, and we don't even know about most of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. That's crazy. I just think, there's so much hidden. And I mean, going back to what we first started talking about today, the information hopefully will be coming out soon.
Yeah.
And hopefully this is a turning point where there's kind of an anarchy against this cabal that's been in charge for so long, and that people just want to get the truth out because they're sick of this. But I guess we're going to find out.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it could be just a red herring that they give us and it's just all fake, or it could be the truth.
It could be, but you know what? If it is a red herring, I'm going to be upset. I think other people are going to be upset. And it's like, okay, what would they get out of that? They're going to gain our trust, get us excited about something, and then completely abandon that trust and put us in a bad situation. People are going to be mad. People are going to be upset. They're not going to have cooperation. So it's like, even if it's disingenuous, the only way it could be disingenuous is, hey, we're going to make a bunch of money off of this. But that doesn't mean the things that are happening aren't good for other people. Like, it is 100% the best option we have right now. And only complainers and people that don't understand and are going to fight against it blindly, can hold it back. But I don't even think then, like, we're going to get so much done and change, and in comparison be able to look at like this next like 4 years, let's say, compared to the last 4 years, and it's just going to click. Like on paper, we can't afford to be stupid anymore. On paper, we can't do this. So I think I don't know. We're definitely heading in the right direction. It's going to be interesting to see all these changes occur, but man, I'm ready for every step.
Maybe not to drop a bomb at the end of this,
Oh, yeah.
but
Go ahead.
Really interesting if there was also a family lineage of assassins.
Oh,
So like John Wilkes Booth being related to,
I love that idea.
Like that would be crazy. It's like
I could see that happening for sure.
Because I mean, if you're so good that like let's say that the family of 13 has this family that's always been the assassins for them.
Also, was that not in one of the National Treasures where did they have the Lincoln assassination with
that was the
Wilkes Booth? That was the second one, maybe.
Yeah, where they talked about like it was a plan.
It was like early. Yeah. So I love all that type of stuff, right? Like it's where people go, that's a bunch of nonsense. It's not real history. Look into it, but there's accounts of everything and different opinions on stuff. But like things like National Treasure, talking about Masons, connecting all those dots. And then, you got like Assassin's Creed talking about Templars, which is where the Masons come from. It's like there's a lot of commonality in these so-called fake sources. And it's like these ideas don't just come from nowhere. And then all these people had different ideas and they all seem to fit together in a certain way. It's like at some point there's evidence of at least the presidents being, part of these secret societies. Like that's super confirmed.
Yeah.
But the assassin aspect of it too, and like, I don't know, even like sleeper agents or like, just at the end of the day, they're actors and they can get paid to do whatever. But the idea of an assassin being from a bloodline and like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
it makes me wonder if it'd be super like that guy who tried to assassinate Trump.
Yeah.
Because all those guys are all in the same commercials. They're all involved.
Right.
Which is weird, right? But like that dude that was on the roof, what if it was like he was in the bloodline, like he was actually a really good shot and just missed?
I don't know.
Like it's just funny to think about, right? It's like what if that was his one like job his whole life was getting trained for that moment and he just misses.
I don't know why I think that'd be a funny skit if he was like a sleeper agent though.
Yeah, and he just like slept in that day, stayed
Got
out.
activated. Got deactivated.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. What would be crazy too though is well, first of all, the assassins. It's like, do you even think that's like Lee Harvey Oswald was the one? It's like now they're like, oh hey, there's a second shooter. Hey, the driver was shooting or whatever. But like, do you think these people that get in trouble for these assassinations are just set up to be the scapegoat and the bait for everything?
That's why I think it has to be a family because they have to get trained to be the scapegoat because either the CIA is creating because they have to create if it's the CIA, which is somebody's controlling this person to complete a task. You don't just go on the street, find some random guy and say, hey, shoot this. It's like you're training this person to fulfill a task. And especially if these people are powerful, they're going out and looking for people that they can hide. That's why you don't see some assassins as like Navy SEALs and stuff because it's too easy to trace them back and you recruiting them. It's almost like you're making them, they're born into it. And that's why it would make sense for it to be a bloodline because it's like if your family bloodline is that of like a trained assassin, then it'd be easier to take the fall because that's like your calling is like your calling is to do this and the price is you dying.
I think it's 50-50. Okay, so if we're going to say any of this happens, this is the version I like.
Okay.
Is that there's two separate groups. There's people that are definitely from the bloodline and they are trained to be assassins and their entire bloodline, like maybe one of those 13 families is just the assassin family, right? They're going to be assassins forever. That's all they do their entire lives. They live in obscurity. Nobody actually knows their true identity. The other people are essentially just sleeper agents, MK Ultra, mind controlled, and those are your Lee Harvey Oswalds. Those are the people they set up to be a patsy.
Okay.
They genuinely might think they're involved in some advanced plot to, change the out course of history or something like that, or that their country really needs them. However they convince them, a lot of it is probably like, I don't know, just brain control, just completely reprogramming these people.
Yeah.
And I think then the real assassins kill them. The other people get scapegoated. And that's that.
Yeah. And then no one's ever found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Until we do some digging, but I mean, that's way down the road.
Yeah. I mean, the research is pretty hard, but I mean, if you took a year to research, you could probably get pretty deep on a lot of this.
Yeah. I'd like to start getting into some more topics that like we can keep coming back to, but maybe take it a step at a time and just get a little deeper into. But
definitely,
maybe we'll save some of those for next episode.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you haven't, go check out our previous episodes. Appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.